What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. Today we're going to have a little bit of fun. This was spurred on by all the grading companies doing their little pricing changes last week. We are going to run through the four majors and we're going to play Mr. Fix-It. We're going to go in and we're going to pretend that we could change one thing or make one decision or move or whatever it is about each of the four major grading companies that would help them, I don't want to say like win the grading war, but just give them a big boost in regards to how the company is currently going. So obviously I have no inside information. There's going to be, some of these things are going to be much more realistic. Some of them are going to be a little bit more outlandish and probably not likely to happen or would take a ton of nonsense to happen, but we're just gonna have a little bit of fun today, and I'm curious for your thoughts and comments on this down below as well. So please feel free to list the one thing that you would change, alter, a move that you would make with each of the four big grading companies. So we're going to start with Beckett, and this is kind of what led me to even doing this video, was really talking about Beckett during their price change thing, their little special that they're running. If I could do one thing at Beckett, it would be, and we talked about it in that one, I would quadruple down on subgrades. My whole business and business model would revolve around the fact that we are the only company that offers subgrades. I would make it that there is not even a non-subgrade option. You don't have a choice anymore. You are getting subgrades. I would work my pricing around that, even if we're not the cheapest. Maybe we're a little bit more expensive. Maybe it takes more time for subgrades. Whatever the case might be, we're not going to get into specific pricing or anything that detailed, but I would build my whole entire menu / offering around subgrades. We're the one company that tells you this is why your card graded the way that it did. And I may even go a step further and offer some sort of note system that goes even beyond that. Hey, because right now you get a subgrade with a 9 on it for corners. You don't necessarily maybe know what corner it was that dinged you. Sometimes you could tell just by looking at the card. But, maybe when you get that card back, it has a, 3 9-5s and an 8-5 on a corner, a 9 on a corner, and you're not 100% sure which one it was. There'd be something that pointed out and told you exactly, hey, the back left corner is soft / pushed in, whatever you want to call it. So Beckett's an easy one. We are going all in on subgrades and maybe taking it a step further with a little bit more detailed grading report. Like I said, I'm building my entire business around subgrades. That is what makes us different. That's the one thing Beckett has, besides the name, that nobody else does. Don't run away from that. Embrace it. Maybe you're not going to top the gem rate data list or anything like that, but you could probably roll out a pretty niche following. They're already starting to make improvements on the website. It's not perfect yet. Their submission process is not perfect yet, but it is a world better than it used to be. As a little bit of a lesser thing, we'll throw them a bonus one, continue to make improvements along that side of things as well. But subgrades, 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 you're the one big company doing it. Don't run away from it. Embrace it. Next up, SGC. I also thought this one was a pretty easy one. If I am SGC, I am aggressively looking at redesigning the slab and the label, with something that I've personally talked about to death. I've mentioned it to Peter when I had him on for an interview. I am planning on talking to him. He had to reschedule. We will probably be speaking early next week, so you'll see that video go up sometime early to mid next week. Still have to lock in the date on that, so I'll be able to potentially talk about this with him in person. But slab redesign is something that's always discussed with them. To me, it's focused around two key things: security and the feel in the hand. Of the four major grading companies, and once again, this is personal opinion on my case, I just do not like the way the SGC slab feels in my hand, and I despise the size of it. Modern cards, and I'm not saying get rid of the tux. I'm just saying like update the plastic, update the label. You can't get away from the tux. That's like your thing. You need to embrace that as well. But in the current format, vintage stuff looks fantastic. Like that mantle that's on screen there looks gorgeous in an SGC slab. My Jim Browns look fantastic in an SGC slab. That Curry looks really good in an SGC slab. Some modern cards do not look great in an SGC slab. Like Prism base, some base modern cards, some darker colored cards or variations just don't look as good up against the tux. Some do, some don't. It's very hit or miss. Anything with white or light colored borders or anything like that really pops. But I would try to get a little bit more of a sleeker slab, get it in line with the same size as like a CSG or a PSA. Those slabs are very similar in size and shape. Even if you wanted to be a little bit bigger to accommodate some of the oddball sizes on vintage, maybe try to get to at least Beckett size. But it annoys me to no end that their slabs do not fit correctly in a lot of slab cases, and that they just don't feel great in hand, in my opinion. The plastic is not as clear. Like CSG has really spoiled me on the plastic. That thing is crystal clear. I would love to see that in an SGC slab, and maybe instead of it being like pure black, maybe it's like a smoke color or like a very, very dark gray to give it the illusion of the tux. Or maybe you still try to come up with some sort of all black that works with it. I would not get into multiple slab options. I think that's a mistake. I would not offer a tux and a non-tux version. Update the label with some more security features on it. I know you guys have the holographic thing in there now. QR code would be nice. It's not a deal breaker. It just makes things easier to find cert numbers. Little touch up, little love on the label to modernize it a little bit. That would be the one thing for SGC. I think if SGC had CSG style case with their personalized SGC touches on it, it would drive potentially a lot of business to them, in my opinion. I think the slab is the one thing a lot of people have issues with them for. And it's tricky. It's not easy to change a slab design because it's one of those things where you almost got to rip the Band-Aid, especially with as long as they have been in the current slab and label setup. It's not like a CSG situation where the slab didn't change, just the label did and the grading scale changed. But you risk making a lot of people mad that have been grading with you that really enjoy the tux. So there's definitely some potential that this one could blow up in their face. But I think net positive for the long term, some sort of slab redesign would be fantastic. Even honestly, if they just wanted to really simplify things, take the current slab, shrink it down just a little bit, get some more clear plastic, and maybe fix the label so you can have it on both sides. Because the way that their case works right now, you can't have a double-sided label. So readjust something that you can have a front and a back to the label to open things up to be able to present more information on the back of the label, like a QR code or whatever. So shrink it down just a little bit, clear up the plastic, get a little something a little more firmer, clearer, and then clean up the label. I think at a minimum, something like that, a small adjustment, not even a huge adjustment, could do them a world of good. PSAs, this one was simple. This was the easiest one out of all of them, to be honest with you. Get rid, if they, before I drop this on you, if they did this, I think they would smoke everybody. It's the one thing right now that everyone is using in their marketing against them. Get rid of declared value. Revamp your entire pricing structure. Figure out whatever you got to do to figure it out. Get rid of declared value. SGC does not use declared value on modern and ultra modern. CSG does, I believe. Beckett right now does not have declared value on their stuff either. Get rid of declared value. Keep PSA memberships. If that's the sacrifice that you had to make, this is me speaking personally, maybe other people would feel differently. If you had to have a $100 a year PSA membership, with CSG, you have to be a member. You can't just submit to them. So you have to pay them at least something for a membership. Say you had to pay a $100 a year PSA membership, but the pricing was completely revamped and you didn't have to have declared value anymore, it was all just based on how quickly you want the card back, it would probably be tricky. It may potentially hurt their overall revenue because you're not getting, $600 a card walkthrough on something. Or maybe you have, if they really wanted to keep it, if it was too much pulling teeth, maybe you keep it for ultra high end. If the card is valued over $10,000 or something like that. But like this stuff right here, this $2,500, $5,000, $1,500, $1,000, this stuff, make it all go away. Make it all go away. Figure out how you have to price this stuff. Maybe the low end stays the same, $18 for bulk or whatever it ends up being. Value stays at 30, economy stays at 50, but the declared value goes away. And it's just all based on turnaround time. All these companies are starting to throw declared value in your face. Everybody hates it. Nobody likes declared value. You guys get crushed on it in the comments on videos left and right. Get rid of it. Figure it out. Redo the pricing structure top to bottom and eliminate declared value, at least for like the common stuff. So let's say $5,000 and under, or maybe even $2,500 and under. Just get rid of it. Figure it out. It would be a massive W. I don't even think Nat Turner likes declared value. I believe there was like an IG post or something going around before he had purchased them complaining about the fact that declared value is a thing. So figure out whatever you got to do and get rid of declared value. It would be, in my opinion, it would be the nail in the coffin of them clearly just putting everybody else away. CSG. This one is the most radical for all of them. It's something that I've joked around about a ton. If I'm CSG, I go to SGC and just write the check. Just acquire them. Go buy SGC. You're both located in Florida. You could pitch it as you are bringing them on as the vintage grading experts, along with their outstanding customer service. You bring Peter on as a second face man to go along with Andy. And you would acquire, I think, a good chunk of their customer base. Their customers like value pricing with fast turnaround times. Right now, CSG is pretty close to that. If they acquired SGC and their staff and their personnel, they could probably get even faster on the turnaround times. And I do think a lot of people that would grade with SGC would be open to grading with CSG if they were all under the same roof. It's the perfect blend of two companies. CSG and CGC have a really nice grasp on the TCG space. That's one of the biggest holes in SGC's game. They do not have a lot of inroads on the TCG space. So they would instantly gain that. I don't see a lot of vintage going to CSG. By bringing in SGC, it would instantly gain them credibility in that market. Hell, maybe when you send your grading submissions in, if it's pre a certain year, that stuff just automatically all goes to SGC's people. And they grade it. Obviously, it would come out in a CSG label slab. SGC, in my scenario here, would probably cease to exist as it is. It would just be the team of people coming on and most likely a good chunk of their customer base. So now if all of a sudden, let's say you got 60% of the business that SGC was getting tacked into what CSG and CGC are getting now you're a pretty big player. Plus, like I said, you bring Peter on as another face guy to go along with Andy, and you bring in their grading team, their customer support, all that stuff, whether you end up keeping both offices up or whatever. I mean, we don't need to get too big into the details here, but you get my general overall point. To me, they are a match made in heaven to be combined together. I don't know if it'll ever happen or not. This one is definitely the biggest pie in the sky thing. Beckett doubling down, tripling down on subgrades. That's something that they could potentially do. Once again, this is me armchair quarterbacking or backseat driving here. I don't know all the inner workings of, what cost what and, how big of a pain in the butt it would be to do X, Y, or Z thing. That one, Beckett is probably the most realistic. I would not be shocked if at some point in time, SGC does a minor revamp. I don't think it's going to be a complete brand new slab design. My guess is it would be a more modernized take on their current slab. I could see that happening. PSA getting rid of declared value, that's probably a little bit more of a reach. And then CSG just straight acquiring SGC is probably the biggest reach of all, because that would obviously take a lot for that one to happen, and there'd be tons of stuff to figure out. But if those two combined powers, I think they really could be a major player then. And that would really, if that happened, that would really leave Beckett out in the cold, in my opinion. Because you have PSA that has pretty big money behind it with Collectors Universe and their whole thing. And then you have, you know, they're building out their grading portfolio of we grade everything. CSG/CGC, you're doing the same thing. Now you bring SGC on, you eliminate one of your biggest competitors. In my opinion, I think a lot of their customer base would migrate over to that as the, I don't want to grade with PSA side of things. It's the same grading scale now with a 10, a 9.5, and a 9, with a pristine / gold, whatever you want to call it, on the high end, a better N10 that SGC has as well. So I think that there's just a lot of things that make sense with those two. And if my memory is correct, someone in the comments could correct me on this, but I believe at one point in time, CSG/CGC used to own SGC a long time ago. And you know what we always say around here? They let you buy them back. Catch you guys and girls in the next one. Peace.